Good to see you.
Good to see you too. My name is Catherine.
Rolf.
Okay, Rolf, it's nice to meet you.
Good to be here.
Good. Okay, before we get started, I just need to read you a little bit. It's about the informed consent, so that you know the process that we're going to be going through today.
Sure.
If you have any questions as I go along, feel free to ask them. So I'm a student in counseling at the North Carolina Central University, and I am required to practice counseling skills with volunteers. I appreciate your willingness to work with me on one of my assignments today. Some important things is, as a student, I cannot offer any form of legal confidentiality. However, anything you say to me in this practice session will remain confidential as much as is allowed by law. This will be recorded, and there will be, my professor will be looking at it, as well as maybe some students in the class. So it's not complete confidentiality, but your name won't be used except, your first name there. If there's anything that you say to me, though, that is that I have to report, there are some things like illegal activity and things like that I would have to report, then that will have to be reported. But otherwise, the stuff that you share will be confidential and remain so. Today, will need to be making a video recording. Is that going to be okay?
Yes.
Okay. If at any time you feel uncomfortable, we can stop the video. But we're just doing this for my practice, and also you can feel free to look at the video. I can share that with you as well. I'm an inexperienced counselor. I cannot do necessarily formal counseling. This practice session is going to help me to learn more helping skills, and I will need some feedback from you. I would appreciate that anyway at the end about my performance and what you might have found helpful and what we talked about today. So that's the end of the consent form. If you could sign that and date that for me, please. And this form, the feedback form, I will give you at the end to see how you feel about what we discussed today. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so I read a bit in your file, but before we get started, I want to know, do you have any questions of me? I mean, this is our first time getting together, meeting. But do you have any questions about me before we get started?
Yeah, like what do you enjoy about counseling? Why did you choose to do these studies?
Well, for me, I'm moving into the field of career counseling, and for me, it's because I think it's crucial. I find that, at least here in the U.S., we tend to work a lot. We work a lot of hours a week, and having a career or a job that you don't really like or that you don't feel well suited for, I think would be a horrible thing. It's like, to get up every day and think, oh gosh, I have to go to work again. That could drain you, and that could seep over into other areas of your life. Even if the other areas of your life are going well, if your job isn't, I think that can tend to seep over into other areas of your life. So my goal, my desire is to help people to find those careers that they'll be well suited for, so that they have a chance of happiness. I mean, happiness is a thing, I think, from inside, but nevertheless, in some sort of happiness. So that's why I'm doing what I do. And I enjoy just talking to people, learning people's stories, to know where you are in their life, and if I can help you move along, together, we can work on moving you along together to wherever you'd like to be. So.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I'm curious to see how this goes.
Okay, all right. Well, then, I read a little bit in your file, and you mentioned you were coming in for some, I guess in a sense, counseling as along the lines of next steps in your life. So would you like to share, can kind of give me an understanding of what you'd like to discuss today specifically?
I remember 10, 12 years ago, I was at the point where I wondered, should I take another set of training or do a degree?
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard to decide what to do, and basically I postponed it, and because I wasn't quite sure at the time what to do, and then life was busy and there were different circumstances. So time was basically never the right time in the last years.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to the conclusion as I do a work that I like and I'm very happy in it, I came to the conclusion probably it's not really needed to do any kind of formal training, just for the sake of having a paper or a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's a wise choice.
Okay.
To basically say I don't need anything because what I expect to do, I can do it for the next 20 years and I will be good at it and then have the training for the job, and additional training is not really worth the time and the money.
Okay, so, and I forgot to mention before, I will probably be taking some notes. You might have noticed that, and I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. Does that bother you?
No, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, just to kind of make sure I keep in mind the things that you're saying. So, okay, so if I understand correctly, you're saying that, let's say a decade ago, you had thought to yourself that you might take some additional training, and then life just got busy, as life does, and so you kind of pushed it to the side. You're in a job that you like, you really enjoy doing it, and it's something that you can see yourself doing for the next 20 years or so. And so you're thinking to yourself, additional training really isn't necessary, but you're not sure if that's a wise decision. Is that what I heard? Or is there something else?
Yes, well, I do get training on the job through my employer,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what I came up probably might be most helpful in my situation would be a master's in public administration.
A master's in public administration.
Yes.
Okay.
But
And what is that exactly? A master's in public administration. I mean, what does a master's in public administration allow you to do?
Well, I don't know exactly how it would be in the States. In Switzerland, it's similar to a master's in business administration,
Mm-hmm.
but focuses on working in non-profit organization or
Okay.
Or-
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or in for some kind of states or federal government position or
Mm-hmm.
any foundations or other type of organizations that the main business is not to make a profit.
Okay, I see. Okay. So then. Mhm.
And that this might be some helpful, but it doesn't really apply to what I do, and I don't think there's something more suitable for my work. So I thought the time and energy is not really worth
Mm-hmm.
for these studies.
Okay. Okay, I see. So then what's the problem? I mean, because you seem to have made up your mind. You don't seem that. I mean, you said that you're happy in your job, so that's great because there are many people who are not happy with what they're doing. And you said that it seems like there's some job security there, as in the sense that you wouldn't necessarily have to leave it, or you don't foresee yourself getting fired. Although most people don't foresee themselves getting fired, or downsized. Okay, so let's make the assumption that your assumptions are correct, and that you can stay in this position. Then why do you find that to be something that you would come in for counseling, or to bounce off of someone else?
Well, I think it's always good to have some feedback from an independent person, to someone tell you or help you understand what you decided, if that's a good choice or if there's some big aspects that I liked to see.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're needing feedback, or you'd like to have some feedback. Okay, so let's look at your life then. Okay, so you said that life got busy a decade ago. What made life busy?
Well, busy in the sense that there wasn't really spare time to do any studies.
There wasn't spare time to do studies.
Yeah, I didn't think there was. We moved, our family moved and relocated several times to different countries and continents.
Uh-huh.
And then also, that's we had child, and it took some time, and I didn't think there was a suitable period of time to invest in this.
Okay, so you're seeing that it would be a great time investment to do some studies.
Yes, time and financial resources.
Okay. And so for this Master's of Public Administration, or maybe here it might be called nonprofit administration as well. I think they have degrees in that. How long does that take? Let's say if you went to school full time, have you researched how long that would take if you just went full time?
Well, I didn't research in detail. I imagine that if it's full time, I would say 2 years, 3 years.
2 years, okay.
But I don't think I would be able to do it full time, so it would be on a part-time investment, time investment.
Okay, part-time. So why would you not be able to do it full time?
Well, we don't, because we need the income I provide for our family.
Okay, so your wife doesn't work?
Well, she currently she's also doing some studies. She has some part-time employment.
Okay.
But at the moment she doesn't. It's very limited what she earns.
Sure. Okay. Okay. It's limited. Okay. What she earns. All right. So, what would you have 10 years ago? What were you thinking of studying? What was your interest then? I mean, I know you said that time wasn't available, but.
Well, what I realize now, we also had a lot of changes, and I felt starting such a intense study time, there were too many other changes, and and I felt it wasn't good to add another big change. I thought it would be helpful to have more stability in other areas of our lives before starting this, and so this didn't really happen.
Okay, and so
what I considered at that time, I was hesitating between some courses in this area in administration and non-profit administration, and at that time also considering some theological studies.
Theological studies.
But
okay.
Later on, I ruled them out.
Okay, and what ruled out the theological studies?
Well, realizing that I'm more gifted and from the work more enjoy working administration and financial oversight than.
Okay. Okay, and so what do you enjoy about the financial oversight and administration?
It's I know it's an area I'm gifted in. It's
yeah, but a person could be gifted in something and not enjoy it. I mean, they could just have gotten to the point where they're burned out in it, or they just think, oh, no, I really like to do something different. So what do you enjoy with it?
Well, the work I do currently is a big variety of tasks.
Okay.
It involves also a lot of flexibility about how to do the work. I enjoy in my work environment. I don't have very direct supervision, so I'm free to decide what, also to sometimes to decide what to do and when to do and how to implement things.
Okay.
It's I enjoy analyzing things and procedures and looking with a detailed eye on things.
Okay. And you've had success at that. Your supervisors have.
Yes.
Okay, you've had success. So you've had success at it, and you enjoy it. Okay. All right. So. So okay. So you feel like you're gifted in this area of administration. Now. But you don't feel like taking courses is something that you want to do. Is it because you don't feel like you need them, or you really don't want to take them? You don't want to put the time and the energy into them, or you just feel like, well, it really isn't necessary. And what's the point of spending the money on that now? So that's what I'm wondering. I mean, because I wonder if on some basic level you still do want to take them.
The issue is probably I'm not quite sure if what I said is Masters in Public Administration, if that's really the best fit for what I like to do. Mm-hmm. I know that's what I came up with, but I don't think I had any guidance in anyone helping me see what other options might be there in this area that are relevant here where we live in North Carolina.
Okay, so you would consider getting a job elsewhere, or moving out of the job you are now, but you just want to know if...
No, I'm not considering moving out from the job, considering taking some studies, but only if I knew it would be very helpful and would be a good or perfect fit for me. And what I came up with is Masters in Public Administration. I'm not sure if that's really the best option, so that's also prevented me from starting, not knowing if it's really the best option that's there. Because I don't want to start something and just doing it and it's not really the suitable for what I like to do.
Okay, and so in your organization, are there people who do the same job that you do?
Yeah, there are other people, yes.
Okay. And have you spoken to them about what their qualifications are? And whether what they think would be good training for you if you wanted to take additional training for it? I mean, I know you said you get some on-the-job training. The organization provides some for you in I guess various areas, but if you wanted to do a degree or a certification, are there others who could say, yes, I'm in this job of finance as well, or I do administration, and this is what I studied, and it helped me in XYZ way? Are there people you think in the organization who have done that, who would be willing to speak to you?
Well, a few years back I inquired with some people and especially with people who were involved in the personnel department who I thought they might have some options, but I found out although my organization is quite big, it's, 5,000-10,000 staff people, what I do in administration is not really most of the people there did do their work through learning on the job and to be trained on the job, and I don't think they have a lot of outside formal training for what they do.
Okay.
I know there are some who do similar work. They have a degree in they're certified professional accountants.
Okay.
But I think for me that would be a too narrowed field of studies.
Okay, yes, because your job isn't just the financial piece, you got administration as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I guess then we're thinking about you and your future.
Well, I know in the past I did a lot of different kind of assessments with some personnel people. Assess professional about skills and gifts. And
did you find those helpful?
Yeah, there's some helpful, yeah.
Okay, so what kinds of things do you remember? I mean, what kinds of things did the assessments say?
Well, I know I'm more person-oriented to tasks and things. I'm not very relational. I work better by working alone than in a team.
Okay, so you work better alone. You like autonomy, you said before, and flexibility. That's what you have in the present position that you have, and that you have a variety of tasks. So you don't want to be doing the same thing all day, every day. Even if you find it interesting, you want a variety of tasks, you want some flexibility, and you want to be able to do your job however you want to do it, as long as at the end of it, you get it done. It seemed like what you were saying. Is that true?
Yeah, you said a lot, but I think yes.
Okay. 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 So I mean, what kind of gift would you like to leave the world? I mean, when it's your time to to leave, what would you like for people to say about you? I mean, presumably you're going to be in this organization because you have said that you don't want to leave this organization, and that there's a certain level of job security there to where you wouldn't have to leave it. So what would you like for them to say about you? I mean, besides, oh, we're sorry he's gone. Okay, we finished that bit. But what would you like for them to say? Rolf?
Well, I know what I do. I work for an international organization that does literacy and language development and translation worldwide. And I know people, my colleagues who work in language tasks, they wouldn't be able to do their work without what I provide, financial services. So what I do and what they could say is that I help them do their job so that I do use my gifts. They are able to use their own gifts to work in their field.
Okay.
And so that helps our organization, helps our people to work more efficiently and more. Yeah.
Okay. So you just want people to be able to say that what you did basically facilitated them being able to do their job.
Well, that's a part, and the other part is also that I know one of my gifts is to bring structure and clarity in different in a domain.
Okay.
And excel on these things.
Okay. All right. So what? So I guess my question is then, do you have any desire to study? I mean, even if let's just say, even if it didn't have anything to do with your job, inside of you say to yourself, I really would like to learn about something new. I mean, maybe even just to keep your mind active in a sense. I mean, I'm sure it's active in your job or with your family or whatever, but, just active in a sense that way. Do you have any desire to study? Let's just say you had all the time in the world,
Well, I think in my spare time, through what I read, I do learn certain new things, and I'm open to engage in new things. It's probably not in a formal way, but in an informal way, I think, too. Reading and different magazines and news. I do learn, and that's.
Okay, so these things that you're reading, do they have anything to do with what you do on your job, or they're just other personal interests?
Oh, it's both. It's about leadership development or managing people, but also.
And you manage people?
A little bit, yes.
Oh, okay, because you hadn't mentioned it. Okay, all right, so you're managing people as well. Okay, I think what will be helpful for us is, to make a decision, or for you to really have some surety in yourself whether you've made a good decision and not pursuing any studies, is maybe to look some more at the assessments that you've already done. If you have those, maybe next time we could discuss that. But look at some assessments that you've already done, and we can see if you still feel that it's accurate about you. Because sometimes people do change in how they approach their work and things of that nature. But also to do some more study as far as what you could possibly do. Because you said you weren't sure if the Master's in Public Administration is really what is going to get you more skills than what you're already doing. And that a CPA would kind of be too narrow. So you definitely don't want to go that route. But perhaps there are other programs that you could do. Because maybe
so that's something that you can help me.
Yes, I could help you with that. But I mean, because at the end of it, you sound like you're satisfied. I mean, you sound like you're content in your job. You sound like you do it well. I mean, you said that your supervisors, seem to enjoy the work you're doing, and you have some job security. Because if they weren't satisfied with you, I would think that, you wouldn't be as sure that you could keep this job for the next 20 years, as you said. So if they're happy with the work that you're doing, and you're content because you like the structure of your job, the flexibility, the autonomy, and even just the day-to-day tasks that you're doing, you seem to enjoy, then maybe it's not important for you to go to school, but at the same time, it might be worth looking at, some of the assessments, and maybe there's other ones that could be done, but that might not even be necessary. But looking at that and then looking at the different programs that are out there. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know. So that's something that we would have to research to see.
Who would be a good person to research out all these options?
Well,
in this overwhelming
yes, but at the end of the day, I mean, I suppose we could do it together. But at the end of the day, you know your job. You know what you're doing, the different tasks that you're doing. Because you said that, being a CPA is not something that you're interested in, nor do you think it's something that's going to help you advance in your position. Okay, fine. That's fine. But at the same time, you know the various tasks that you're doing. Because like in the beginning, you didn't mention that you were managing people. So it's a whole other aspect. I mean, the management of people is a whole different aspect of just working with numbers. I mean, you said that you prefer working alone, but managing people doesn't seem to me to be an alone sort of thing, I mean, maybe in the way that you're doing it, I don't know. And maybe you just give them sort of feedback on the things that they're doing. I'm not sure how you do it, but that seems to be a kind of a people-oriented sort of thing to managing people. So that's what kind of gives me a little bit of pause in what you're saying. It's just like, okay, if you're managing people, I mean, I understand the whole just working with numbers or working with facts or figures, but if you're managing people, that's a whole different aspect. So there might be programs that you can combine that. I mean, especially maybe if you look at something in nonprofit management as opposed to just public administration, because it sounds like the company you're working in might be a nonprofit. So there might be that, but even if we just start with, the Masters in Public Administration or Masters in Nonprofit, as you look, it might just be that there's a certification program. You might not have to do a whole degree. It might just be a certification program, or they might have some classes, like a community college might have some classes for people who are already working, not people who are just starting out, but people who are already working in that field, things to sharpen your skills, as it were, in the areas where you're already working. But that's where you would have to come in, because you know what you're doing. Like, I don't know what you're doing on a day-to-day basis besides financial stuff. You said you're working with people, you're managing people. So, and I think maybe even having some more discussions with the people who work in the personnel or human resources of your organization to say, hey, I do have some interest. I do want to become better in this job that I'm doing. What can you suggest for me? Because you cannot be the only one who has, even though there are people who have, come into this organization, they just learn on the job, there have to have people who maybe have advanced to your level or maybe even beyond you. So there's got to be, you said there's 5,000, 10,000 people. So, is there, in the computer or something, in some way, is there no way that you can connect with somebody who maybe has done what you're doing or is doing what you're doing and can give you some more insight on how they did it or what they're doing or what they found to be helpful? Because even if there's on-the-job training, people all sometimes do other stuff they just bring in themselves or the stuff they find out about, and it's not on a specific list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but or my organization I work for is not very good for developing administration stuff. It's an organization focused on language development.
Okay.
They're quite good on providing ongoing training and growth planning tracks for language personnel.
Okay.
But I know But before we were interrupted to the camera, I was saying my organization I work for, they're very good at providing career paths and training for our language, for people who work in the language development, but they don't have very many options or no options for people who work in administration. Most of my colleagues came in with training they had before or no training and developed their skills through working on the jobs. And I don't think, when I inquired some years ago, I didn't get any helpful response about what would be helpful or good to get some further training.
Okay, yep. And I think at the moment, of course, you're focusing on yourself, but I think that might be something that later on you could speak to, the personnel and the HR people to say, can we get something in place? Because my guess is that there are probably people who work in administration who might feel frustrated, and there might have even been some who have left due to the fact that the structure for the administrative people isn't very well developed, and they might have felt underappreciated in that. But nevertheless, that's a whole different issue. It doesn't really so much deal with your problem, or not problem, but you're wanting to get some feedback whether you should do a program or not. Well, why don't we? I was thinking about something. Can we explore a what if situation? What if you did lose this job?
What if
you lose this job? I know you said that there's loads of job security, and you can stay as long as you'd like to stay, up to 20 years, or not even up to 20 years, however long you like to stay. But let's just say, what happens if this job goes away? What will you do with the skills that you have? You said that you couldn't leave your job, even if you went to school. You would have to do it in a part-time capacity because your income is necessary for your family. So what if this job left? What would you do? What plans do you have?
Well, there's no current plan, and I'm not quite sure what I would be doing.
Okay.
Probably as I'm from Europe, I'm not quite sure my degrees and my experience, how they would relate to the US job market.
Okay.
So I know it will be probably a little bit of a challenging task to find here something. Maybe ask my wife and my family to move back to Europe.
Okay.
Because that's easier for me there to find employment.
Okay. But even at that, with the employment that you would have, let's say you go back to Europe, what would you do there? Because you're still, how long have you been working with this company?
For 15 years.
15 years, okay. So let's just make the assumption that things may have changed in the job market, even where you're from. So would the skills that you have be enough to get you a job that's going to be what you need? And would you find a job in a satisfying market, is the question to ask yourself. Because nothing's really certain, on my part, although you feel like you can stay at this company. If that company folds, in the sense of your position is somehow phased out or whatever, and you find yourself out of a position, then that might be another thing that we could explore together as well. It's looking at the future, not just the present, and making the assumption things are going to stay as they are, because things rarely do.
So what would be the benefit of going through this hypothetical exercise?
The benefit of going through the hypothetical exercise is to see what happens if your job ends. Because you don't know that it's going to be there tomorrow, let alone 20 years from now. And so you don't look like you're old enough to me to stop working. like that you're a retirement age, although you might be. So if you say now that you cannot even do master's studies because your family needs your income, it might be worth thinking through that to say, if this job ends, what am I going to do for my family as far as income is concerned? So, because I think too, if we get to the bottom of that, the hypothetical situation and say, what would I do if I had to do something different? Even if you're still working in the field of finance or administration, but if I'm not in this company where I don't need any more skills, but what if I did need some more skills? What kind of skills would I want to get? That might help you to see, okay, is this degree going to be necessary? Or is further training, even if it's not a full degree, is further training going to be necessary just to keep me active in the job market? Because if this job ends and you need to turn around and get another job, even in the same field, the finance. I mean, you have some experience in finance, and presumably that's what you were working on 15 years ago whenever you left, to start with this new company. But have things remained constant in that industry, to where you could just, if this job ended tomorrow, you could put in some resumes or CVs or whatever in Europe, get your family back there, but have assurance of at least finding something, or with the skills you have not really transfer, because this company is what you're working with is not kind of the same as you would find in your country. I don't know, because I don't know with your situation, but I think it's worth thinking through, because if you need that, it's better to have it or to at least be working on it than to need it and just be stuck not having anything. Just thinking, I thought I could rely on my past, but the past isn't working anymore. To see if what you're doing in the present company you're working in, is that stuff that's done in normal companies and other companies, outside of what you're working in, or is it, let's say you have to return to the for-profit world. With these skills that you have, would they work in a for-profit world? Is it only kind of you're in a specialized field now and it wouldn't? So that might be something that's worth working on as we go forward as well, to see. Because it could just be that maybe you're looking at the circumstance and thinking, I don't really have the energy, I don't really have the money, I don't think I have the time to do it. But you might actually enjoy it, learning something new in the field that you're working in already. And that might be a benefit to you. Even where you are now, it could be a benefit to you.
I'm sure there's always a benefit to it, and probably I would enjoy it. I think that's clear, but it's a question, and still, is it worth the effort? With your limited time, is this the best investment and the best effort with your time?
Right, but what makes you think your time is so limited?
Well, everyone has only 24 hours a day, so...
True.
So that's
True. But we always find time to do things that we find interesting or things that we find necessary. So, that's my point, is if you knew that a month from now, your job as it is now is going to end, would you feel the same? Would you be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I can make a seamless transition. Okay, yes, moving your family from one country to the next is going to be something. But could you make a seamless transition into the job market because it seems to me that you're making an assumption that you can do that. And you said, finding a job in Europe would be easier for you.
Say I can make a seamless transition. It will be a challenge. I'm aware of that.
Okay, but you're just even assuming that you could find a job. And I think it'd be worth discovering, can you? Is that possible? Because you never know. That's the thing. I just think because of the words that you said, that your family needs the income that you're bringing in. So it's worth putting a cushion there, I think. But
yeah, it's probably. But then there's also a question. I think, do you work and do you live in the present and do your best here in the present, or do you worry about the uncertain future and try to prepare for a future that might never come this way?
That's
so.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to think about. But we're trying to get to the bottom of whether or not you feel that you've made the right decision and not taking any courses. So the fact that you come in says to me there's something niggling in the back of your mind, because if you had made a decision and you said, no, I'm good. I don't, there's nothing that I need more because the skills that I have are fine for the job that I have now, and this job is not going anywhere in my foreseeable future. In fact, I feel like I'm going to retire from this position. So then if that's how you really feel and you're sure, then you wouldn't have come in here today. Because you'd be like, no, I'm good. I don't need to, why pay money to come in to see someone if you're good and you feel that you have so to me, there's something at the bottom of that to where you were coming in and you're saying to yourself, okay, I do need more feedback. I need someone to give me assurance that this is, or to help me to make the assurance that, this is a good decision that I've made. So, that's just what I'm seeing, because, yeah, most people, if they made a decision, they're thinking, okay, yeah, it's fine. They might mention it to a friend, but they're not going to be, yeah, I don't know. To me, that just seems like there's something there. So, I don't know you well, so you can tell me if I'm way off base, but...
Well, it's a bit related to the circumstances of this interview, that's true. Probably I wouldn't have gone to a professional counselor and pay a lot of money to answer this question. Well, but it was helpful to be reminded when we talked at the beginning. To try to find help and see what, if I like to take some studies, what exactly would be the best option. Mm-hmm. And then when I know what's really the best option, then I think I can decide better. Mm-hmm. Because I think I mentioned before, at the moment I feel like I'm not quite sure what's available and what would be the best option. So I could use some help in narrowing down the available things and then decide based on what's there, if that would be a good fit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And another question that we might, that you might can answer too, is just like, do you feel there's anything lacking in your professional life? As you look, at it, what's lacking, or what would you want more to it? Is there anything missing from it?
No, I don't think there's anything lacking now. I know when I compare to many other people who are unsatisfied in their work or for troubles, just have an employment bound to earn money but don't really enjoy it. I'm very blessed to be somewhere where I enjoy what I'm doing, and I know it makes a positive impact for many people. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's lacking something.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so then what we're going to do then for the next time is that we are going to, you do some research as to different programs, and I will do some as well. We'll come back together and we'll discuss that to see if there is something based on what you presently do. The tasks that you presently do, to see if we can fit those into a certification program, a degree program, to see, okay, would you like to learn more in depth on X topic, and also for the assessments that you've done, if you could bring those, in fact, if you could send them to me, that way I can have time to review them, and then we can have a discussion about them the next time to see, to see what they've said, how you feel that you're in agreement or disagreement with what they came up with.
But I think for looking at what are the options, I think that someone who has experience in the educational field who should guide us or should guide me. because I don't think I know where to start and find out what's available.
Okay, but you started with the Master's in Public Administration. So how did you find that? Or how did that come to your mind? Is it somebody who said that to you? Said, "Oh, I think you're describing a Master's in Public Administration," or?
Well, I have been aware of this option for a long time.
Okay, but how did you find it when you found it? From the very beginning?
Well, I don't remember. I mean, no, I knew about this since 20, 30, 20, 25 years. Probably through looking a magazine or from the university I was attending that I offered.
Okay.
Such a program.
Okay, so I think one step that you could take with that is to look at the Masters of Public Administration, I keep saying Education, Public Administration, and just get a listing of the courses that they're going to offer. You know? Because we can compare those courses to courses that are offered in other programs. Or to see this, like, let's say the Masters of Public Administration offers a course in leadership development. Will does any other program within the universities around where you're living offer courses in leadership development? Because then we can see, okay, if this Masters of Public Administration offers courses in leadership development, and let's say a Masters in leadership development offers courses, so we'll look at the courses there as well and see, you know, what kind of courses, and see the descriptions and say, okay, is that something that sounds interesting to you, something that you feel like you need more or you would like to have more information on? I mean, yes, you're true. We can find an educational consultant, you know, or even from the assessments that you've done, to see what kind of skills and what kind of interests that you have and how that translates into certifications or degrees or something like that, and then we can just narrow that down. But also I think for you to do some more work on it on the front end, because like I said before, you know what you're doing and you know what you like about the job that you're doing. So if you're looking at a whole list of courses for a degree in public administration, and there's only 2 of the 15 courses you would need to take that sound remotely interesting to you, then maybe that's not what you're wanting to do for real. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can make that decision because you know yourself. You know the interests that you have, the things that you would like to learn more about. I mean, there might be something that you don't know. You look at the description, you think, well, I don't really know if I'm interested in that or not. Okay, fine. We can put that in the middle pile. But there'll be things that you say, oh, absolutely not. And things you say, oh, sure, yeah. And these things we're not sure of. And so we can find a different ways to see whether or not those courses will translate into a certificate program, so you don't have to do a full degree, but you could still get some additional knowledge that will help you what you're doing, or if a full degree would be good, for you. If that would be something that, would be interesting to you, that could help.
Well, I hope when I do, because there's involves a lot of time, so I have to check with my wife if she is available to take over things I do currently for our son or our family.
Yeah, okay. I mean, well, hopefully your wife will be, helpful with you in that. But I mean,
often she's also very busy, and I think we decided that's not a season for her to finish her training.
Yes, but I mean, these are things that you can do. I mean, looking at the internet, you don't have to go to a specific place to do it. You can look on the internet and just pull up a list of courses. That's something. I mean, because you're going to have to be committed to change if it's something.
To really start, that will be when it comes to starting a potential class.
Oh yes, okay. Well, I mean, your wife is very busy. What is she doing?
Well, she's also studying currently for a master's.
Okay. I mean, how much longer does she have though?
Well, I guess 18 months.
Okay, so I mean, if you start the process now, though, by the time she finishes in 18 months, she'll be ready to start. Because it's not as if you, except for the certification programs, it's not as if you look today, you probably could start something tomorrow. Normally speaking, if you're starting the degree program, you're going to have to take, entrance exams and things like that and apply to program anyway. So mean, a lot of programs do have rolling admission, that you can be admitted almost any time, but usually the program starts either in January or in August or September. So it's not as if you decide something today, then even 2 weeks from now you're going to start classes. Usually. In some cases it might be, but usually you're not. So this gives you time to get some stuff into place, But also, with your wife, you'll have to sort that out with her. You have to work as a team, to get some things together. So, okay, well, this is good. So, so you feel that is something that you can do, at least the research part of it. I'm not saying to sign up for a program, but the research part of it, to look into this, to see, is this something that I can do, would do, these are the courses.
Yes, probably. Yes.
Okay. Rolf, you don't seem very committed to this. Is this something
at the moment, with aiming at by mid-September, yes.
Okay, by mid-September. Okay, so then we can schedule something for after that, after the summer break, and then we'll get back together again and see what you come up with, and I'll do some, and do send me the assessments as well. You can send them to the receptionist, but send them to me so that I can be looking through them, and we can come up with a plan, or at least further our discussion about,
Yes, and I have to check on your fees, so I don't know what's coming up.
All right. Thank you for your time today.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.